Okay, this one is the PowerPoint, and the previous lecture that is uploaded already in the YouTube video. This is the URL, and in the PowerPoint, if you are clicking in the next page here, then you can see you can click. Okay, you can click this one. Let me check again. Yeah, here. With your PowerPoint, you can watch that video clip that is uploaded in the YouTube, and you can review that is recorded already and uploaded here. That is lecture number 1, especially A, and today we are learning the lecture. Hi, this is Young Bo Kim, number 1 and B. Okay, I'll stop this one here. In this way, you can learn most basic one. The program size is around 177 KB. This is so simple, but advanced one, I am recommending you to use that Notepad++. The size is around 10 MB. Depending upon the size, you can understand how capable it is. Depending upon the size, you can imagine. Okay, this functionality is much better than that, and also in this semester, another one is Edit Plus, but this one is text editor also, but this one is not free. After 30 days, after finishing that evaluation period, it is not free. Yes, we should adjust that. Just instead of that, this is around 5 MB. And as I explained already, Visual Studio Code. The program size is around 250 MB. Much bigger than that. That means much more capable, much more powerful editor. And also this, we are using w3schools.com, and this company is providing basic text editor. It is very similar, like this Notepad, and that is most basic one. We can use this one, or simplistic. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to this window, and we'll continue. As I mentioned already, how we can come here, just type in this w3schools.com, then you can come here like this, and here you can click this one, then with different format. This one is showing that, and here if you are clicking this HTML, if you are enlarging, then you cannot see the chapters, but if you are reducing, then you can see. Let me check. Okay, after clicking this one, you can see this one is the chapters. And if you are enlarging, this one, then you cannot see, because this one is the responsive web design. We'll learn later. And here, if you are clicking this one, then you can see many chapters, as I mentioned, so many chapters. Those are all HTML5 chapters we learn until here. also here, also here. Also some advanced chapters here we learn. Here, in the last lecture, we learned about this one, and we just learn about this one, introduction, and as I explained already, this document type is declaring this document is HTML5, and HTML tags and head tags, title tag, body tag, those are being used like this here. There's, in terms of the format, okay, let's follow this one. HTML tags are element names surrounded by angle brackets like this. This is tag name, like previous tags here. And this one is closing tag with this slash. The content will be inserted here. Many HTML tags are based on these pairs, that means opening and closing tags. This one is start tag or ending tag, opening tag or closing tag we can call. And we can see the result after writing that HTML file with any plain browser like Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Safari, or Opera. We can see the result. With the browser in the smartphone, you can see the result, because our browser is an interpreter interpreting our HTML file. This previous HTML file will be interpreted like this. Thus on the screen we can see with the PC or with the smartphone. On the screen you can see. There's, if we are considering the structure of HTML page, even though we learned briefly in the previous explanation, it is composed like this: HTML and head section here, and in that head section we can see this title and body area here. Main contents are located here. So simple here. Okay, some simple one and clear one I will skip, and let's move to the next, because we discussed already in the previous lecture. Okay, let's move to the next. This one is the chapter for editors. As I explained here, we can use Notepad to write HTML file, or Visual Studio Code, or Notepad++, whatever. If you want, you can use. Notepad is so simple. You can use, and I'll show you. Okay, here we can see the whole screen, and here you can click this one, and you can find Notepad. And this one is Notepad, even though that is Korean name. And you can type in, and simply you can copy and paste here. Well, usually on this one, this desktop screen, you can see usually that is so common text editor. There's some HTML5 with more contents than this. Okay, we'll try to use that Notepad later. Here, Notepad, with Notepad we can you can do that. And this one is explaining about that. After writing that HTML code, and we can save. And if we know the location of that file, then we can execute with browser. And the file name should be any name, but the extension should be .htm or .html. There's no difference. It is up to you, but .html is more recommendable. Thus, after that, with the browser, any browser, we can see the result because the browser is interpreting that HTML file which we wrote. As I mentioned already, w3schools.com, this one is providing online editor, thus it is very easy to follow. This is mainly for studying and for following, but our actual work, in our actual work, we should use Notepad or Notepad++ or Visual Studio Code for more productive work. Thus here, we can copy this one, and in the Notepad, here, that was copied there, and I will copy again here, and you can save this one. Save on the desktop screen, and the name is test2, and the file extension should be, as I mentioned already, HTML or HTML, and save. Then you can see this one. Depending upon the default browser, you can see the different icon, but here I am using the Google as a default browser, because you can see that Google's icon here, and test the name. The name is, that is the name of that file which I built. And if you are clicking this one, then you can see the result like that. Okay, if you are changing here something, and if there any arbitrary character string here, an arbitrary character string, and save. And if you are updating, then you can see that it's being changed. Like this, we can use this simple and plain text editor, Notepad, or Notepad++. If you install later, then you can use that. Also, later we'll use Visual Studio Code. And those editors will have much more functionality. And we'll learn later. Today we are learning just simple editors and what kind of editors can be used to build our HTML file. That's it. Okay, I'll be back again. Here, and I'll continue. Next. Okay, this one is explain about the basic examples of HTML. And we will learn some basic tags here, as we learned already. This one is repeating again. Document type declaration. That means this one is HTML5 document. HTML document begins with HTML, and this one is /HTML, I'll call. And this one is opening tag and closing tag. Body tags are also starting tag, ending tag. Here. Some simple contents I'll skip, I'll go in paste mode. HTML headings. This tag name or element name is using the original meaning, original spelling, and that is coming from that. Thus H means heading. Depending upon the number following that H1 or H6 and H1 to H6, that means there are many other heading tags, H2, H3 between them. You can see the result here. And this one is the text editor provided by this wc-script.com. And instead of going to the Notepad and coming back, we can proceed in paste mode in easy way with this simple text editor. There's H1 tag here. You can see the result. And H2 tag. There are 6 kinds of heading tags, H1 through H6. And H1 is, as you can see, the biggest one and the smallest one, H6. Whenever you are changing something, you should click this run, then you can see the updated contents will be shown on the right side. Okay, let's go back to the original one and let's try to go to the next one. Paragraph. This P means paragraph. Thus P means paragraph. Thus you can see this paragraph here. If we are not using this paragraph here, P tag, that is not paragraph. You can see. With this P tag, we can make paragraph here. Okay, you can close this one, except this one. Of course, we should continue. In the HTML document, you probably have a lot of experience with this hyperlinking, and actually this A tag, that is anchor tag, this one is providing that hyperlinking capability. For example, try it yourself, please click that. And this A tag, this one we can provide some URL here, and you can see this is a link that is the text string here, and if we are using A tag here, then that is changing like this in terms of the color and the underscore. As you can see, this one. Also, you can see, let me check whether that is working or not. Other side, I'll try. Okay, it is not working. w3schools.com is working. And now we can use this one instead of this text editor. There's some limitation in terms of the full functionality. In that case, we can use Notepad, later Visual Studio Code. I'll copy this one, and let's try to use the previous Notepad, and I'll erase first and paste there, and save that and check. Here I didn't copy the previous one because the whole thing should be copied. Copy and paste here. And save. Then you can update that. Then you can see. Okay, I'll eliminate a little bit. Then you can click this. Then you can see this is wopen.com. Later I'll explain a little more in detail about this. This is the name portal that I built. As I mentioned in the previous lecture, I am using HTML5, CSS3, and the JavaScript in the client side, and in the server side, some other subscript and database. And this one will be shown sometimes from time to time as a real example of the website built based on HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript. Even though we are running the front side in this lecture, to complete the whole web service, we should understand the backend side. In the backend side, we should use server script and database. Thus, this is the half of the whole contents which we should learn, because one semester is not enough for the second grade students. But depending upon your work and depending upon your interest, you can do that by yourself, because this w3schools.com is providing a lot of contents, even for the backend side. Okay, images. Okay, let's try to go in test mode. HTML images. To show image, we are using image tag. To use image tag, we should be familiar to that attribute and attribute value, attribute and attribute value, attribute name and attribute value. That is the learning how to use the HTML and HTML5, CSS, 3, and so on. Let's look at one example here. Okay, to show this image, here we are focusing on that image tag here. We are using source attribute name here, src. That means source, image source, URL. If that file, image file is located in the same folder, same means the same folder into this original HTML file, then we don't need to specify any other path name here. This ALT is coming from alternative. If that source is not containing that image, and if that URL is wrong, like this, intentionally I will spell wrong character here, then actually there is no image for that. Then you can see some alternative character string here. For that purpose, in case this image is not brought, then instead of that image we can see this. Or for screen reader, for the blind people, screen reader can read this one. If there is no character string here, then if something wrong here, then the blind people cannot understand. Even to the correct one, the blind people cannot understand, but sometimes the screen reader can read for them. For that purpose, this alternative and that value can be used. This is, and height, the value here, that is the pixel. See the results there. There are so many buttons we need, and in other way, later we'll look at some other way to show this button. And here, anyhow, the button itself, the name itself, here, we can use to show that button here. Okay, I'll close some others. Okay, also in our web page, we may show some list. There may be some unordered list and ordered list. Let's look at this result. That may be better for understanding. This is a kind of ordered list, unordered list. This is ordered. Ordered due to the numeric number and due to the alphabetical order we can show. Here, always we can use this one. I will not explain, and I'll skip that one. Always we are using these common HTML tags. Document type HTML, HTML body tag, and head tag if we need there. And we will focus on that body tag here. Inside of that, we are putting the contents, and to show that contents, we are using many HTML tags. Mainly, many HTML tags are related to this area, body area. And here, let's focus on that list. First one is unordered list. The tag name or element name is UL. Inside of that, here, coffee or tea or milk, that kind of the list can be put in here. If we want to show some ordered list, then the default order is based on the numerical number. Here. Let's move to the next. Okay, you can try some trial I'll skip, and that is assignment. I may check in the quiz even in the midterm exam or later in the final exam. Okay, even though we learned about the HTML tags, that is called HTML elements, we learn more in detail about that here. An HTML element usually consists of a start tag and the end tag with the content inserted in between, as we learned already, and this one is being repeated. For paragraph like this, ending and closing, and this one is starting and opening tag, we can call that tags. Start tag usually like this. Now sometimes empty element without any content like this line break, then we don't need to use some ending or closing tag. And that's the HTML elements. Let's look at here. Here HTML element can contain another element here. Those HTML elements can be nested. Elements can contain elements because body elements or HTML elements can contain many other elements here. As we learned already, same. In this way, we can show HTML contents based on the basis of these HTML tags. And as we learned, this H tag, H1, that is the bigger one, biggest one among heading tags, and starting and ending or opening or closing tags we can call. Also paragraph, P tag, we are using start tag and ending tag. And this is my first paragraph, that is the contents. That contents is inserted between those start and end tag. The browser is smart enough, even though you are not using ending tag, you are missing like this. The browser is smart enough to show properly and correctly, but please follow the normal presentation. If possible, you should use that closing tag, even though that is being shown correctly here, because the browser is interpreting in a smart way, but you please do not depending upon the browser's smartness. Empty HTML elements. Sometimes line break like this by itself, it is being used. For example, here, the result will be here. Line is broken, with this line break tag, that is BR tag. And HTML is not case sensitive. That means uppercase, lowercase, it doesn't matter. There's uppercase P or lowercase p, it doesn't matter. Anyone you can use. But in this contents provided by this wc.com, this one is using lowercase tags instead of uppercase tag. Let's move to the next chapter. This one is explaining about the HTML attributes. And this one is being used inside of the HTML elements. And what kind of attributes are there? Depending upon that elements, they will be different. And all HTML elements can have attributes. And this one is providing additional information about that element. And we look at the example. For example, like this, name and value pair. For example, hyperlinking. For hyperlinking, we can use this anchor tag. Here, we should use href. Hyperlinking reference URL should be here. That is attribute value. As we looked at already, here we can provide that URL here. And another attribute, image, that is depending upon that image, and this one is being used inside of that image element source. To show that image source, we can show that URL here. Depending upon the real location of that file or image, sometimes we should show the full URL, including the path or folder names together. Like this. Probably this one is being located in the same folder with this HTML file, thus we don't need to specify. Sometimes I will introduce the real website which I built already, and that is the social name portal I called, and I attach the name for that portal, and I'll show you. And there are so many images are being used after completing this attribute. To show properly on the screen, we may control the size, and we need to control the size of that image here. Depending upon that attribute value, this is the 500 pixel, and if we are reducing the size to the smaller number, 50 pixel, and how about this one? Instead of 600, how about 60 pixel? Then you can see that is reduced. Thus we can control the size of that image into this attribute and attribute value. And you should remember this kind of element name or tag name and the dependent attribute name and the value, attribute name and the value, you should be familiar to them. Okay, let's move to the next. As I explained briefly in the previous example, this LT is from alternative, and instead of the image, sometimes that image source URL is wrong. Then instead of any missing image, instead of some empty space, and also for the screen reader to read properly, to explain that the image for the blind, we can use this ALT. And this is compulsory to use this ALT in terms of the web accessibility. And there's some web accessibility tool, and to that tool we can check how that is compliant to that the accessibility. And usually in Korea, the government website is required that accessibility, because the equal accessibility for equal opportunity and for the disabled people. Okay, I'll skip others because we did already. And this ALT, attribute is also useful in the image cannot be displayed if that is not, it does not exist. Thus, instead of that image, if that is wrong, something wrong, then you can see the text description for that image. And for screen reader, that can be read, as I mentioned already, for the blind people. Okay, even though we learn this style in this cascading style sheet tutorial, inside of our HTML contents, into this element, and inside of that element we can use this style attribute. And this one is not usually recommended. That style should be used and defined and used here, CSS. We are learning all cases. There's into this style attribute we can show some style. Okay, let's look at the result here. Okay, the style is being used here. The color, that is the property name of that style, and this is the property value for that. You can change this color into the color name, but there's some limitation in terms of the naming of that color. Instead of that, we can use this hexa value.